Hello, Glitter Witches, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of working with Hecate. My relationship with Hecate started, I think, a year and a half or 2 years ago, really being on and off. And a few months ago, I really took the plunge and dedicated myself to her. And in plenty of videos, and I think a few times on Wine and Witchcraft, I talked about my relationship and my work with Hecate not necessarily being witchcraft in a sense. It's more personal growth and exploration above anything else. Working with Hecate for me is like facing a mirror. When she's present, it's just like, this is what it is, and you need to be able to make peace with that. And that's really what our work has been. I give her offerings, I light candles at her altar. All of that still happens pretty regularly, but the witchcraft aspect doesn't seem to kind of cross when it comes to working with her. There's been very few workings that I've actually called her in on, or workings that I've actually done at her altar, because our work together doesn't seem to be physical. It's not external manifestation, it's more personal growth. And she has this way about bringing in the shadows and, again, really lifting up that mirror to my face and saying, this is what the problem is and it needs fixed. And a lot of those things are things I'm really not ready to face. One of the major things that I wanted to talk about in this video is the approximation of the truth. And it's something I've done for much of my life. I tell a portion of the truth about myself, or take a truth and spin it into something much greater. And I know that that does not lead well to authenticity and being truthfully who you are. And Hecate came to me at a time when I was really struggling with processing the death of my son. But it wasn't necessarily his death that I needed help processing. It was more so the guilt that I felt for not feeling like I was the father I should have been. And we've worked through that, and I've come to peace with that. But there is still this theme, this approximation of the truth. And throughout our meditations and our workings together, there's been this inkling of something, a message that I'm just not quite getting. And it wasn't until I watched a movie where it kind of just clicked. So the movie that I'm talking about is The Luckiest Girl Alive. And she is trying to give this article that she wrote about being sexually assaulted to her boss, which is an editor-in-chief at a magazine, some sort of publication. And the editor reads it and tells her that the approximation of the truth isn't the truth. And when she said those words, it just kind of clicked for me. That has been a theme of my life, approximating the truth. And it's happened so long that there are times when I look in the mirror that I don't really know who I am, because in my youth, I was so closed and so sheltered and so isolated from the world. And when I became adult, I realized there were things in life I had never actually experienced. But I pretended I did. I pretended that I understood. And I built this kind of caricature of myself to help myself fit in, to feel as though I could relate to people on a variety of different things, because I wasn't well versed in the world as my peers. And so this approximation of the truth, when I heard the actress say that word, I saw Hecate, and the message became very clear. The real truth that's been revealed in all of my working with her is that my identity crisis in life is something that in many ways I've done to myself, whether it's to fit in or to try to avert trauma, try to erase my past. Whatever it is, it's all become an approximation of the truth. It's all become a really muddled down version of it, or something where the truth is very minuscule and all the approximation is so large around one little thing. And it's become something that, again, has been a theme in my life. And over the past few weeks, I've just been feeling the need to purge that. As we all know, YouTube is a very public platform, so I won't be spilling all of my secrets. But I will say that the running theme of this has permeated so many aspects of my life, to the point where many people, friends, don't know truths about me. And so the one truth that I'm going to share is that you thought you were going to get some personal secrets, didn't you? Not so fast. This video is not about revealing all of my personal pitfalls and secrets and failures. We're not going to do that. I'm not ready for all of that. But I will just say, taking on other identities to hide is really detrimental to yourself and your personal growth. And there were things even after Rachel and I got married, years later, that I had to reveal to her. And that is, I'm not a slut. And I wasn't a slut before we met. I've kind of, perpetrated that on the channel and publicly for a long time. And the truth is, I only had one sexual partner before Rachel and I got married. So very inexperienced. And it was something that I did, and I lied about it. I approximated the truth in the sense that I had sexual encounters that didn't actually end in sex. You can use your imagination with that. But I approximated this facade, and I wanted to carry this title as being sexually explorative and sexually promiscuous. And the reason for that is because it was so heavily disdained by the people I grew up with in the cult that I was in. Sex was just not appropriate to talk about. It was something only for a man and a woman and nobody else. And as I got older in my teenage years, I had minor experiences, and I built on those into a lie of being sexually promiscuous, because for me, holding the title of a slut was holding power. And I know there's a lot of negative connotations around the word slut, but for me at the time, and even when I've used it in the past, it's really been a call to power. A power over one's own body and one's sexual choices. Choices that I didn't feel like I ever had the opportunity to make. And again, created this character that I thought would empower me. And as I've gotten older and reflected, and a lot of work with Hecate, realized that carrying these facades, carrying these lies, carrying these characters that I tried to play, they diminish who I actually am as a person and my growth going forward in life. Looking back to my transitioning as Kennedy and really analyzing that and looking back at things that I wrote and things that I said, really what I was trying to do was erase my childhood, erase Justin, and create this strong, powerful woman that only existed at this exact moment. And anything that happened before then was erased. It no longer existed, because facing the trauma was harder than just compartmentalizing it, than just ignoring it. And because I did that. So much of what I experienced is hard to recall almost now. I have had to go to other friends and family that went through the same experience as me to recall memories, because it's almost like this selective amnesia or something. It's hard to explain. It's almost like I work so hard to erase it and create this new reality that it was almost completely erased. And all that existed at that time was Kennedy, this vivacious, vicious woman that would eat anybody in her path. She was loud and obnoxious and an Amazon, and nothing would stand in her way. All the qualities I wish I had, all the things I wish I could be, I wanted to create in her and erase everything that came before. This need to approximate the truth goes deeper than building on lies or creating a lie out of a truth. It's more about approximating the truth of who I am as a person and suppressing parts of myself to maybe not even fit social norms, but to create a narrative that's more comfortable for me to live with in the outside world, and to be a version of who I think is going to have an easier time getting along day in and day out. I still have this tendency to accept things in life that I'm really not okay with. And I recently made a short for the Neo-Pagan November Challenge about I'll never forget to value me. And that's a challenge every day. And it's a challenge I oftentimes don't meet. I try to tell people the things that they need to hear and the things that I need to hear, even though I'm really not great at listening to myself. Because the truth, when the truth is something that you're not necessarily living in, it's hard to face that truth. I have found that living through the approximation of the truth often leads to complacency and a difficulty to obtain real, full joy and happiness. And it's a lot to take in. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like Hecate's message to me is becoming more and more clear. And that is that she is the revealer of truths. She is the revealer of authenticity and how to live your most authentic life. And that is why I value her so much. It is a resource that I need. And much of our relationship, as much as I would like to deny it, I go to her as a deity because of her wisdom, because of her divine knowledge, because all of the energy that has fed her for millennia is almost all-knowing, and she knows who I am outside of the bullshit, outside of the lies, outside of the complacency and the approximation. She knows, and she forces me to look at that in a very plain, straight shooter kind of way. The truth is, I have a lot of growing to do, and as an onion, there's a lot of layers that still need to be peeled back. I'm a work in progress, and it's a long journey. There's something scary about having a revelation like this, because when you become aware of it, change becomes imminent. And I don't know what that change is going to look like, or what that's going to feel like, or even what that will be. But I've struggled for a long time in my adult life, feeling like I'm living in a fog, like I'm phoning it in every day, and I find little pockets of things that seem to open my eyes, and YouTube has been one of those things. But through my work with Hecate, I'm realizing that the fog is not where I should be living. I need to step out of the fog and have my eyes open all the time, every day in life. And in order to do that, I have to live my truth, and I have to embrace the reality of who I am and stop approximating, stop characterizing myself on certain things, and just live authentically and be who I am, because who I am is good enough. And I don't have to be a version of myself to be okay. If I can embrace my truth and live authentically, fully, personally, that's when I can find true joy and happiness. Looking even outside of approximation and the lies I've told myself, it even feeds into the doubt that I have in my decision making in life and my lack of confidence and living authentically and doubting my decisions. I think a lot of that comes from relying so heavily on the church for a huge portion, 18 years of my life. You're not really taught to have self-identity or to have a lot of confidence in your decision-making skills. And growing up into an adult and stepping outside of that environment, it's hard to try to find that. And when you pile that on top of trauma and sexual identity and all of these other things, it becomes really a jumbled mess, and you become very unaware of really what you're doing to yourself and to your life when you make decisions hastily and you're not really sure what you're doing. It's kind of a byproduct of that as well. So that is my video for today. It's a lot, and it's a little revealing, maybe a lot revealing, maybe not at all revealing, but I felt like it was something that I had to say out loud, because if I kept it in, it felt like it wouldn't be true. I know that sounds stupid and mildly ridiculous, but it's true. I feel like it becomes more real when you speak it, and I try every time to be as authentic as I can, but this has been weighing on me, and it just needs to be purged. It just needs to be out. And that's really what this video is. It's really just about revealing all of these things about me. And obviously, like I said, I'm going to be revealing my whole life story and all the traumas and all the bullshit, because, hello, again, public platform, but still, it needs to be said, and it needs to be made aware of. And I have to hold myself accountable for that, at the same time as having empathy for myself, but also realizing that the way I treat myself and the way I handle myself moving forward has to change if I expect change. Change doesn't come to idle hands. Like, I have to do the work in order to achieve that. And that's more so what this video is. It's about substantiating that in the spoken word. So, with all that being said, that is my video for today. I hope it found you well. And until next time, bye, glitter witches.